Because neurons conduct electricity, and because we don't want to have it conducting electricity all the time, we need to have the equivalent of switches, just like we do with electrical wires in our house, where a light switch can cause the wires to touch or not touch. And if they touch, the light is on, and if they don't touch, the light is off. Well, our body doesn't have electrical switches like this, but it does have a chemical equivalent, and that equivalent is called the synapse. Synapse means joining. And here I've illustrated a synapse between the end of one neuron and the beginning of another. So this is the axon and the axon terminus for one neuron. And then the neuron that's receiving the signal, this is the soma, or could be the dendrites. Now, for any given synapse, we talk about the neuron that is sending the signal as being the presynaptic neuron, so it comes before. And the neuron that's receiving the signal is called the postsynaptic neuron. Now, the electrical signal is traveling along this axon until it reaches the axon terminus. And when it does, it causes voltage-gated calcium channels to open. So here's a calcium channel, and it's got a little voltage sensor on the inside. So as soon as the electrical signal arrives at the end of the axon, the calcium channels open. Calcium, which is more concentrated outside the cell, comes into the cell and causes exocytosis of these vesicles containing neurotransmitter. So now you can see the neurotransmitter entering the synaptic cleft. It travels across the cleft, diffuses across the cleft, and binds to its receptor on the postsynaptic neuron. This is going to lead to a chain of events that is called the local potential, and that may in turn lead to a chain of events called the action potential. But this is called synaptic transmission. It tells us how we have an electrical signal converted to a chemical signal converted back to an electrical signal by the postsynaptic cell. The synapse is held together. The cells don't touch because we don't want our wires to touch. We want to have control over when the signal passes from one cell to the next. But to keep the two neurons from being pulled apart, there are cells that surround the synaptic junction or the synapse. That also helps to keep the neurotransmitter in the synapse where it can continue to interact with its receptor. I think that's all I wanted to tell you about the synapse.